How did the White Lotus inspire the Red Lotus? How can you puppeteer another person? And how did the brightest power in the four nations become so dark? There's quite a lot of history in the world of the Avatar, so let's illuminate some of our favorite chapters.
And when you want more history lessons, watch Avatar Braving the Elements here on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The White Lotus and the Red Lotus, two sides of a pie show tile. But what's the history behind these mysterious organizations? Well, thanks to a letter that Uncle Iroh had written to Zuko before his passing, Iroh revealed that the secret organization was originally just a group of like-minded individuals dedicated to uniting the four nations. Then their mission expanded into protecting and training the Avatar for the good of all mankind. The tile-based board game Pai Sho was always at the center of the group.
I see you favor the White Lotus gambit. Not many still cling to the ancient ways.
Those who do can always find a friend.
Then let us play.
It was first an excuse to share information in a casual manner. But when this group of allies grew too large, Pai Sho became a vessel for symbols and codes. They were able to secretly plan and strategize together in full public view. Like a flower on the edge of a sidewalk, they grew right under everyone's nose.
The White Lotus opens wide to those who know her secrets.
What are you old gas bags talking about?
I always try to tell you that Pai Sho is more than just a game.
As this group blossomed, they became known as the Order of the White Lotus, named of course for Pai Sho's iconic White Lotus tile.
Most people think the lotus tile insignificant, but it is essential for the unusual strategy that I employ.
Now, you may be wondering what kind of timeline we're looking at. Well, we don't know exactly when this legacy began, except that they were established by the time the Avatar Kuruk passed away. That's when the White Lotus failed to properly identify Kuruk's successor. Consequently, Avatar Kyoshi had an extremely difficult upbringing. That changed over time with some help from the White Lotus member and Kyoshi's secretary, Jinpa. Centuries later, in the height of the 100-Year War, Avatar Aang was the next to work closely with the Order. Not that he realized it.
You can't keep us here. Let us leave!
As King Bumi of Omashu put Aang through several unique challenges, the secret White Lotus member reminded his old friend that things were not always as they seemed.
I solved the question the same way I solved the challenges. As you said a long time ago, I had to open my brain to the possibilities. Boomy, you're a mad genius.
And then there was the Fire Nation deserter, Zhang Zhang.
He's the first person ever to leave the army and live.
Avatar Aang was desperate to learn from this firebending master, even though Aang was not at all ready to start firebending.
Why won't he see me?
He says you're not ready. Says you haven't mastered waterbending and earthbending yet.
Wait, how does he know that?
He saw the way you walked into camp. He can tell.
I'm going in anyway.
Aang eventually convinced Zhang Zhang otherwise, with the help of Avatar Roku.
You think I am weak?
Avatar Roku. No, I did not mean that.
I have mastered the elements 1,000 times in 1,000 lifetimes. Now, I must do it once again. You will teach the Avatar firebending.
Yes. I will teach you.
Really? That's great!
Though, as is often the case, the Avatar in training should have listened to the White Lotus.
You burned my sister! This is all your fault!
I know. Now pack your things. You must leave immediately.
I'm sorry.
Another White Lotus mainstay? Pakku of the Northern Water Tribe, who was especially important at fueling Team Avatar's growth.
Not bad. Keep practicing and maybe you'll get it by the time you're my age.
He tried to teach Aang master-level waterbending, though teaching Katara is what would really build Aang's skill set over time.
You're late.
Good to see you here.
You too.
Pakku showed the value of building Team Avatar and not just the Avatar himself, just like their next White Lotus tutor, Beyondao.
Your butler told me that when I met you, I would have to prove my worth. But the truth is, I don't know if I am worthy.
I see. Well then, let's find out together how worthy you are.
This non-bending member of the Fire Nation helped transform Sokka into an expert swordsman. Take note of all the lotus symbolism in his home.
The Master wanted you to have this, as something to remember him by.
It's a Pi show tile.
The White Lotus. Huh. What does it mean?
I have no idea.
Piandao also helped train a future Fire Lord, Zuko. Now, come to think of it, perhaps that's when Piandao was originally indoctrinated into the White Lotus, via Zuko's uncle, Iroh.
It is an honor to welcome such a high-ranking member of the Order of the White Lotus. Being a Grand Master, you must know so many secrets.
We learned most of what we know about this organization through Iroh. As the group's Grand Lotus, he and he alone had the power to summon their warriors for battle. The world witnessed that assembly during the return of Sozin's Comet.
Well, look who's here.
The White Lotus has always been about philosophy and beauty and truth. But about a month ago, a call went out that we were needed for something important.
It came from a Grand Lotus, your uncle, Iroh of the Fire Nation.
The Order of the White Lotus was crucial in ending the 100-Year War. But in doing so, they revealed themselves to the world. And unfortunately, that action planted a seed that would blossom into the deadly Red Lotus.
Red Lotus? Are you related to the White Lotus?
We are what the White Lotus was meant to be. But after the 100-Year War, the White Lotus lost its true purpose. Its members came out of hiding and openly served the Avatar. They became nothing but glorified bodyguards who served corrupt nations. So a great man named Zhai Bao broke from the White Lotus and began his own society.
In addition to this legendary Zhai Bao, there were several other powerfully influential Red Lotus members who believed that chaos was the natural order of society. Two of these members were Zaheer, the martial arts expert, and Avatar Korra's very own uncle, Unalaq.
What? My uncle was part of the Red Lotus?
I met your uncle when I was a teenager after we had both joined the Red Lotus. We learned about Rava and Vatu and how Avatar 1 foolishly severed them, disrupting the balance of the world forever.
Avatar 1 wasn't foolish. He was trying to restore balance.
He closed the portals, severing humans from spirits. Even you realized the error in his ways.
Once they were radicalized by Zhai Bao, Zaheer and Unalaq led a mission to kidnap baby Korra. They wanted to use her to open the spirit portals, and then raise her under Red Lotus ideology.
That's why you tried to take me when I was a kid?
Yes, and with members of the Red Lotus as your elemental masters, we could have taught you so much.
Sounds like you wanted to brainwash me so I'd do whatever you wanted.
No, Korra. All I wanted was to show the Avatar a better path for the world.
They did not succeed in kidnapping young Korra, and while much of the Red Lotus was imprisoned, Unalaq was not.
He wasn't with us that night, and he covered up his involvement afterwards.
So he betrayed you, just like he betrayed me.
Yes. He allowed me and my friends to remain imprisoned while he pursued his own selfish goals.
These goals included opening the spirit portals through whatever means necessary.
If you want your friend to make it out of the spirit world, you'll open the other portal now.
Because of Unalaq, I betrayed Tenzin, opened the portals, and threw the spirit and human worlds into chaos. It was my fault he fused with Vatu and became a Dark Avatar. And I was helpless to stop him from destroying Rava and cutting off my connection to my past lives. With Rava gone, Unalaq and Vatu became more powerful than ever.
But Korra became more powerful too. She turned into a giant spirit.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
And opening the spirit portals turned out to be kind of a good thing, actually. It brought back Airbenders. Some people who could never bend any element in the past suddenly discovered this new ability to airbend. Unfortunately, Zaheer was one of them.
Lahima once wrote, "Instinct is a lie, told by a fearful body, hoping to be wrong."
What's that supposed to mean?
It means that when you base your expectations only on what you see, you blind yourself to the possibilities of a new reality.
After years of imprisonment, Zaheer escaped. and soon helped his other Red Lotus masters escape as well. First, we met Ghazan, the Earthbending master with the uncommon ability to lava bend.
It's nice to see you again, Ghazan.
Thanks for busting me out.
Then there was Minghua. She was born with no arms and somehow learned to replace them through waterbending.
I never thought I'd be so happy to see your ugly mugs again.
Great to see you too, Minghua.
Finally, Pali, a combustion bender with an explosive love life.
I thought I'd never see you again.
I never doubted. Really? Right now?
The 4 escaped Red Lotus members colluded to kidnap Korra again, with the help of a less obvious member, Iroh.
Avatar Korra, it is an honor to meet you. My name is Iroh.
Thanks for having us.
In the Earth Kingdom city of Zaofu, Iroh was advisor to the matriarch, a very powerful position. But despite his usefulness, Zaheer would eventually turn on Iroh.
You left a loose end.
I assure you, no one knows anything about us.
No, you are the loose end.
Zaheer!
He'll be spending eternity in the fog of lost souls.
These remaining members of the Red Lotus continued their scheme to sow chaos by attempting to capture the Avatar and also dismantle governments.
Attention, citizens of Ba Sing Se. I have an important announcement to make. Moments ago, the Earth Queen was brought down at the hands of revolutionaries, including myself. I'm not going to tell you my name, because my identity's not important. I'm not here to take over the Earth Kingdom. I think you've had enough of leaders telling you what to do. It's time for you to find your own path. No longer will you be oppressed by tyrants. From now on, you are free. I deliver Ba Sing Se back into the hands of the people.
The assassination of the Earth Queen was one massive victory for the Red Lotus.
Ba Sing Se has fallen. After Zaheer and the Red Lotus toppled the Earth Queen, the city descended into chaos.
The Air Nation was the next target.
Zaheer is headed to the Northern Air Temple as we speak. He said he's gonna wipe out the new Air Nation and everyone in it, unless you turn yourself over to him.
And Korra had no choice but to give herself up. It was a trap that would set up the Red Lotus's ultimate plan.
Once we administer this poison, your body will naturally react, forcing you into the Avatar state in an effort to keep you alive. Sadly for you, you'll be entering it for the last time.
No! The Avatar cycle!
Yes. When we dispatch you in the Avatar state, the cycle will end.
That's right. Zaheer and his deadly Lotus cohorts were closing in on their goal to rid the world of the Avatar permanently. But they underestimated the power of the Avatar state. Team Avatar escaped to their own perils and put an end to Pali, Minghua, and Ghazan. Korra eventually achieved a grim victory, one with long-lasting consequences. You see, Korra struggled with the effects of her poisoning for some time, and the Earth Kingdom saw massive political struggles after their queen was slayed. It was, to some degree, the exact chaos that the Red Lotus had hoped for.
No! You don't understand. The revolution has already begun. Chaos is the natural order of all... Whoa!
Zaheer was incarcerated once again. But there's no way of knowing just how many more Red Lotus members exist in the world. How many more masterfully deceitful players were left working to sow seeds of chaos? Like a weed on the edge of a sidewalk, the Red Lotus could still be growing right under everyone's nose.
Surprised, terrified, and powerless. That is what you feel when encountering a bloodbender. But where did this horrifying act of puppetry come from? Let's go all the way back to before bloodbending was even discovered. Roughly 35 years into the 100-Year War, the Fire Nation arrived at the Southern Water Tribe. They led raid after raid on the small tribe, imprisoning any and all waterbenders. The final prisoner of war was a woman named Hama.
I was led away in chains, the last waterbender of the Southern Water Tribe. The guards were always careful to keep any water away from us. They piped in dry air and had us suspended away from the ground. Before giving us any water, they would bind our hands and feet so we couldn't bend. Any sign of trouble was met with cruel retribution. And yet each month I felt the full moon enriching me with its energy. There had to be something I could do to escape.
Hama, desperate for freedom, realized that the guards had not eliminated all water sources from their prison, because where there's life, there's water.
The rats that scurried across the floor of my cage were nothing more than skins filled with liquid, and I passed years developing the skill that would lead to my escape. Bloodbending. Controlling the water in another body, enforcing your own will over theirs. Once I had mastered the rats, I was ready for the men. And during the next full moon, I walked free for the first time in decades. My cell unlocked by the very guards assigned to keep me in.
So, this is only speculation, but it's believed that her escape and the reports of this legendary new power is what drew more raids to the Southern Water Tribe, roughly 60 years after they began.
Tell me, who is it? Who's the waterbender?
There are no waterbenders here. The Fire Nation took them all away a long time ago.
You're lying. My source says there's one waterbender left in the Southern Water Tribe.
What they were really looking for was a bloodbender. And unfortunately, a mother of two, Kaya, sacrificed herself to save her lone waterbending daughter.
It's me. Take me as your prisoner.
I'm afraid I'm not taking prisoners today.
But it was a futile effort. On the other side of a vast ocean, Hama was hiding under the Fire Nation's nose.
Hello, children.
Hama spent the next several years moonlighting as an innkeeper just outside of the Fire Nation village. And every month during a full moon, she would secretly take her revenge out on any Fire Nation citizen unlucky enough to cross her sights.
Thanks for letting us stay here tonight. You have a lovely inn.
Aren't you sweet? You know, you should be careful. People have been disappearing in those woods you were camping in.
What do you mean disappearing?
When the moon turns full, people walk in, and they don't come out. Who wants more tea?
Ordinary people couldn't fathom that it was just a waterbender wielding such power.
I'm not that old. Not ready to get snapped up by some moon monster yet, at least.
We wanted to ask you about that.
Did you get a good look at the spirit that took you?
Didn't see no spirit. Just felt something come over me, like I was possessed. Forced me to start walking toward the mountain. I tried to fight it, but I couldn't control my own limbs. It just about had me into a cave up there, and I looked up at the moon for what I thought would be my last glimpse of light. But then the sun started to rise, and I got control of myself again. I just hightailed it away from that mountain as quick as I could.
The people who Hama did bloodbend were actually held captive, just like she once was. But Hama's legacy came to an end in the final summer of the 100-Year War. Avatar Aang and his allies were befriended by the elderly Predator. She even went so far as to begin tutoring Katara, the only other living waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe.
When you're a waterbender in a strange land, you do what you must to survive. Tonight I'll teach you the ultimate technique of waterbending. It can only be done during the full moon, when your bending is at its peak.
Hama shared one of her secrets for the very first time with Katara. Meanwhile, Toph helped discover Hama's other secret.
Why would a spirit want to take people to a mountain?
Oh no! I did hear people screaming under the mountain. The missing villagers must still be there.
We're saved!
I didn't know that spirits made prisons like this. Who brought you here?
It was no spirit.
It was a witch.
A witch? What do you mean?
She seems like a normal old woman, but she controls people like some dark puppet master.
Hama!
Simultaneously, Katara was hesitant to learn bloodbending.
I don't know if I want that kind of power.
The choice is not yours. The power exists, and it's your duty to use the gifts you've been given to win this war.
Katara resisted until Hama crossed the line, bloodbending Aang and Sokka.
Don't hurt your friends, Katara, and don't let them hurt each other.
Hama was taken away prisoner once again, but this time, some of you would argue it was pretty justified.
Congratulations, Katara. You're a bloodbender.
So 1 month later, the full moon rose again, and so did a bloodbender, thirsty for revenge.
What's happening to me?
Katara was on the hunt for the man who slayed her mother.
You look her in the eye and you tell me you don't remember what you did.
It's not him.
Katara eventually found her mother's killer and spared him. That was the last time she ever bloodbent, as far as we know. Decades later, the newly established United Republic of Nations outlawed bloodbending altogether, but the dark art would continue to haunt society via one game-changing criminal.
Yakone has maintained his grip on the underworld by using an ability that has been illegal for decades. Bloodbending.
The defense argued this was impossible, not only because bloodbending was such a rare skill, but because it had been reportedly performed without a full moon. The defense would have won had the court not been full of people who had witnessed the impossible time and time again.
In my years, I have encountered people born with rare and unique bending abilities. I once bested a man with my trusty boomerang who was able to firebend with his mind. We find Yakone guilty of all charges and sentence him to life in prison.
Yakone revealed his power to the public, bending his way to a temporary freedom. And he would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for Avatar Aang and the Avatar State.
I'm taking away your bending for good.
Yakone's own bloodbending may have been over. His lineage of crime and power, not quite. Yakone eventually escaped prison with the help of his former gang. They changed his appearance. He found a wife and even had 2 sons, Tarlok and Noatok. Their family continued down a wholesome path until his boys discovered they were waterbenders too.
At first we were excited by our new abilities, but our training brought out a different side of my father.
Tarlok! You better shape up or you'll be out here in the cold all night until you get it right.
I'm trying, but...
Try harder! You two will become bloodbenders of the highest order. When the time is right, you will claim Republic City, and you will destroy the Avatar. You must avenge me. That is your purpose in life.
The good days were behind us.
Every full moon, he took his sons on a hunting trip where he secretly trained the young boys in bloodbending.
Stop! You're hurting it!
Toughen up, Tarlok. You'll need a thicker skin for this.
A few years later, their education evolved into bloodbending without a full moon. Tarlok didn't have the stomach to manipulate helpless animals, but Noatok reveled in his new power.
He was a prodigy, mastering my father's psychic bloodbending technique by the time he was 14.
Yakone reached a new low when he made his children bloodbend each other.
Bloodbend your brother, Tarlok!
That felt awful. I don't want to do that to anyone. I never want to bloodbend again.
You're a disgrace. A weakling. I'll teach you a lesson, you insubordinate.
Stay away from him.
This is when Yakon's delicate hold over his children snapped. The puppets had become the puppeteers.
I made you what you are. You're mine.
We're your sons, not your tools of revenge. Let's go. I can run away from him forever.
Run away? What about Mom? We can't just leave her.
He was right about you. You are a weakling.
Noah Talk! Don't leave, please! Noah Talk!
My father and I searched for days, but we never found a sign of Noatak. We thought he perished in that storm. My father stopped training me. With Noatak gone, his hopes for revenge withered. And he passed away a few years later.
Our final bloodbending chapter opens up several years later. Noatak had actually lived and re-emerged in society with a new identity, Amon, a non-bending radical.
Since the beginning of time, the spirits have acted as guardians of our world, and they have spoken to me. They say the Avatar has failed humanity. That is why the spirits have chosen me to usher in a new era of balance. They have granted me a power that will make equality a reality. The power to take a person's bending away permanently.
That's impossible.
Of course, we know that this was done through bloodbending.
What did you do to me? Your firebending is gone. Forever.
But it was enough of an illusion to stir massive civil unrest in Republic City.
The era of bending is over. A new era of equality has begun!
Amon amassed a giant army of people who believed that benders were the enemy of equality. Amon even used a fake firebending scar that actually made him seem like a victim, when he was really just another predator. Before long, Amon became the target of a ruthless politician, Tarlok. Sound familiar?
Amon is not going to stop.
We should point out how Tarlok had no clue Amon was actually his brother. But both men had their father's desperation and power. Both men concealed their past to the public. And both men were willing to do whatever it took to reach their goal.
You need to be stopped. You're just as bad as Amon.
Avatar Korra, who found herself at odds with both brothers in the fight for justice, was the first to learn of Tarlok's powers. And she learned the hard way.
How are you doing this?
There are a lot of things you don't know about me.
Tarlok saw no choice but to cage Korra, just like Hama was long ago. Tarlok was desperate to maintain his politically driven power, though one witness saw through his lies.
I already explained. Equalists attacked us and took her.
But there were no chi blockers here last night. You planted the evidence, didn't you?
That is a ridiculous accusation.
It's true. He took her.
Why did you wait until now to fess up?
I was terrified to tell because Tarlok is a bloodbender. He bloodbent Avatar Korra.
Don't make this worse for yourself. Tell us where you have Korra.
Tarlok bloodbent his way to a temporary freedom. And who says history doesn't repeat itself? Though, without the Avatar state coming after him, the only force strong enough to stop him was his own brother Amon, who was also in pursuit of Avatar Korra.
It is time for you to be equalized.
You fool. You've never faced bending like mine. What are you?
I am the solution.
What an awkward family reunion. Regardless, Korra escaped, and the bloodbending secrets were revealed.
I'm Amon's brother.
But the war against Amon was not yet over. Not when Amon used his unique bending blocking skill on the Avatar herself. Korra lost the ability to bend water, earth, and fire, the 3 out of the 4 elements that had come so easy to her in the past. Airbending was still a mystery to her, until Amon's wrath threatened her close friend, Mako.
No!
Impossible.
I can airbend? I can airbend! No, you don't!
Did you see what happened? Who was that? Can you see him? Could that be...
You freaking evil Avatar! Stop it! Leader!
Amon's facade was washed away, literally.
He's waterbending.
He is a bender.
The scar's fake.
The Avatar was telling the truth.
Amon lost everything, and while in retreat, he felt that the only place he could turn to was family.
The 2 of us together again. There's nothing we can't do.
Yes, Noatak.
Noatak. I had almost forgotten the sound of my own name.
Even his younger brother Tarlok knew that their powers were too much for the world to bear.
It will be just like the good old days.
A dark conclusion to a dark subject.
Here is everything you need to know about the most explosive element in the world, fire. First, we have to go back, over 10,000 years back. Before people lived in the 4 nations, they lived on the backs of giant lion turtles. These animals were so massive, human beings set up entire civilizations on their backs. Not only are they large enough to live on, each turtle possessed an ancient ability.
Great guardian of our city, we are venturing into the spirit wilds to bring back food for our people. Please, grant us the power of fire.
The power is yours to keep until your return.
You're first, kid.
Stealing the element led to severe consequences. And that is exactly what happened to a young man named Juan.
What did you do? You can't steal from the lion turtle? Really? Because I just did.
After stealing fire from the lion turtle, he organized a raid on the Chu Palace.
Grab as much food as you can!
By doing so, he committed the forbidden act of using fire as a weapon against humans.
What?
Never again may you return to this city, but I will allow you to keep the power of the element.
Bet he doesn't last till morning.
For 2 years, Juan roamed the wilds. At the beginning of his exile, he was all alone with an ability he did not fully understand. But he wasn't alone for very long.
I saw you save the cat deer from those hunters. I've never seen such an act of selflessness from a human before.
He met spirits of all shapes and sizes. Among the spirits lived the dragons. Juan studied the movements of the dragons. By doing so, he made fire an extension of his body. This was the beginning of his journey to become the first Avatar. This was Firebending. Word of Juan's firebending traveled fast. Having been inspired by Juan's accomplishment, more and more humans kept the element and ventured out into the wilds.
Chanters!
The first cluster of firebenders were the Sun Warriors, a civilization dedicated to pure firebending. Their mission was to preserve the teachings of the original firebending masters, the dragons. Over the course of the next 10,000 years, firebending began to evolve, and benders began to tap into the full potential. The results were explosive. So what did they learn about firebending? With enough power, firebenders can propel themselves into the air like a rocket. Another discovery was the art of combustion bending.
Sokka, watch out! Ah! It's Sparky Boom Man!
You know, I'm starting to think that name doesn't quite fit.
An incredibly rare form of firebending that allows users to bend the element with their minds.
Ah!
This skill may be rare, but combustion benders can be some of the most formidable opponents in the Four Nations. Now that's shocking. Known as the cold-blooded fire, lightning is an advanced technique that not every firebender can pull off.
Instead of lightning, it keeps exploding in my face, like everything always does.
This technique requires a special kind of precision because one mistake can be fatal.
Almost isn't good enough.
But it can be mastered. Just ask Uncle Iroh. Iroh can generate and redirect lightning.
There is energy all around us. The energy is both yin and yang. Positive energy and negative energy. Only a select few firebenders can separate these energies. This creates an imbalance. The energy wants to restore balance, and in the moment the positive and negative energy come crashing back together. You provide release and guidance, creating lightning.
Between lightning, combustion, and flight, fire became a truly fearsome element, and its power reached an apex when the comet arrived. Fire Lord Sozin discovered that he can draw power from an extraterrestrial body. This space rock enhanced his firebending to unmeasurable limits. Using this insane form of firebending, Sozin's army rained towering fire down on the air nomads, almost completely wiping them out.
That's a lot of fire, isn't it?
Fire Lord Sozin also began to hunt the dragons for sport, and one by one they were slaughtered. Firebending would never be the same again.
Water brings healing and life, but fire brings only destruction and pain. It forces those of us burdened with its care to walk a razor's edge between humanity and savagery. Eventually, we're torn apart.
For 100 years, this was the new firebending norm. But to Iroh, that wasn't the true meaning of the element.
Power in firebending comes from the breath, not the muscles. The breath becomes energy in the body. The energy extends past your limbs and becomes fire.
Iroh taught Zuko everything he knew, from the basics of firebending to redirecting lightning.
You must create a pathway from your fingertips, up your arm to your shoulder, then down into your stomach. The stomach is the source of energy in your body. It is called the Sea of Chi. Only in my case, it is more like a vast ocean.
Meanwhile, Team Avatar set out to learn more about firebending themselves. What they found was a weakness that would change the course of the war.
The sun is behind the moon. It's a solar eclipse. Firebenders lose their bending during a solar eclipse.
Firebenders were the reason Aang was the last airbender. They were also responsible for the death of Katara and Sokka's mother. And with the next eclipse coming soon, they saw a perfect opportunity to strike.
When this is finished, the Avatar will have defeated the Fire Lord. We will have control of the Fire Nation capital, and this war will be over.
What followed was one of the biggest battles in the Four Nations history. Benders from all over the world united for one huge surprise attack on the Fire Nation.
Retreat! Everyone move to the secondary defensive position! Retreat!
But Fire Lord Ozai knew the eclipse was coming and was prepared for the attack.
No, no, no! Fire Lord Ozai! Where are you?
But just when all hope seemed lost, Team Avatar acquired a new member.
Hello, Zuko here.
Zuko's mission was to help Aang defeat Ozai by teaching him how to bend fire.
more ferocious.
There was just one problem.
That one kind of felt hot.
Don't patronize me. You know what it's supposed to look like.
Sorry, Sifu Hotman.
And stop calling me that.
Zuko's firebending was fading, and no one understood why.
Zuko needs to go back to whatever the original source of firebending is.
So, is it jumping into a volcano?
He and Avatar Aang decided to travel to the ruins of the ancient Sun Warriors, where they hoped to find the true meaning of firebending.
I know my people have distorted the ways of firebending to be fueled by anger and rage. But now I want to learn the true way. The original way.
If you wish to learn the ways of the sun, you must learn them from the masters Ran and Shaw.
Aang and Zuko faced the masters and performed the Dancing Dragon, the same technique that was first taught to Wan 10,000 years prior.
Judgment time.
All this time, I thought firebending was destruction. Since I hurt Katara, I've been too afraid and hesitant. But now I know what it really is. It's energy and life.
That's why my firebending was so weak before. Because for so many years, hunting you was my drive. It was my purpose. So when I joined you, I lost sight of my inner fire. But now, I have a new drive. I have to help you defeat my father and restore balance to the world.
That wraps up everything you need to know about firebending. Which element do you want to learn more about next? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more deep dives into the Avatar universe.
Now that you have learned the secrets, and you know about our tribe's existence, we have no choice but to imprison you here forever. Just kidding. But seriously, don't tell anyone.